Just to introduce Maciej, I think Maciej is, and he'll do his own introduction soon enough, but a chief data officer who will in a way cover most of what we've covered today in a total overview of the journey. He will be speaking at DataCon soon, so we're very lucky to have him with us here today.
Thank you. So thanks everyone for the introduction opportunity to present today. Actually DataCon was yesterday and the day before, so that completed quite a successful session. And I'll be sharing parts of those insights that I spoke about there today, and looking forward to having a further discussion. But absolutely correct. I think I might repeat a couple of the things that the guys have spoken to today, but I think fundamentally what we really wanted to focus on is pulling this whole operating model together. So a little bit about me. I have been in the data space for quite a long time. I started out actually in the retail space, building out brands and products, then moved over to strategic management consulting, and then joined a bank, a major bank about seven and a half years ago. Been the chief data officer for 3 years. Actually, my 3-year anniversary is next month. And yes, just been on a very exciting but tough journey of getting data landed inside the bank. I've gone through all operating models. So we started off as a 3-man team in one of the divisions. Then we went from 3 to 300 people in the space of 18 months. So there was a mass consolidation. We got everyone to basically, as we say, sing from the same hymn book, and then federated those models back into the business, because we felt that proximity to business matters, and we pushed those data skills back into that. So yeah, that journey's been for about 7 years. I've been the chief data officer for a large corporate and international bank now, and yeah, I'll take you through some of the thinking that we've done just to kind of really bring this all together. So as I think when I listen to all our esteemed speakers today, and they've really provided a lot of insight, I do think, there's a way to simplify everything. And I think the question everyone might be asking, themselves today is, how do I make this a reality for my business? How do I actually bring all of this stuff together in an operating model that works, that will complement? Probably if we look, I feel, and this is my own opinion, that I feel that this operating model could be applied to almost any business area around the world and in any industry. So we did really simplify it, and it wasn't for us to use. We do use this as an operating model, but obviously with a lot more detail behind it. But we use it to tell a story. We tell a story through how data can be valuable to you in your specific area. And more importantly, we had to sell the concept of data to some very senior people that might not be au fait with the deeper understanding of data analytics. But I think the fundamental reason why we needed to push this agenda is because, as they say, data has become the new oil that keeps the gears of the lubrication of the gears going for all these large organizations. The big aspect here is that's fine to understand as a concept, but how do we make the value of data that a reality in our customers' hands? So we put this operating model together, and it's something, as it states there, we really wanted to focus on that value element at the end of the day. So what I did was, and we created these, let's call it 3 main sections. The first one is around data ownership. And this is obviously understanding where the data comes from, and we'll go into a little bit more detail around that. But this is literally one of the most important things that we have to get right inside any organization, is where does the data come from? The next thing is we started a data value chain to kind of show that there's a sequence of events that need to happen in order to get a result. And that result needs to turn into value for whatever department, or at the end of the day, how we focus it to land in the customer's hands. And then we have business at the bottom. So business can be any sector, any space, even down to a specific area or business unit. We trying to show that there's a mutual relationship between the two. When we trigger something in this space, something else gets triggered in this space, and we work together and co-create that value that we're looking for at the end of the day. So the first one, and this is something that we would already mention, and I deliberately drew a line down here for the reason of saying that data ownership must land up in the business. Business, whichever business it is, they are the ones that's supposed to own the data. They create the data. In a very simple example, if you walk into a bank, into a retail bank, into a branch, and you sit there and you're a new customer, the bank's never met or seen you before, you come in with paperwork and we capture those details onto a system. That is the creation of data. And this is something I'm going to use as a customer creation or customer record through as an example throughout the whole operating model today. But what does it actually mean, data management? I mean, at the end of the day, the question we ask, can we trust this data? You know, everyone's heard the proverbial garbage in, garbage out, you know. Imagine if that person that's walking in to capture his customer details, they've either misprinted something on their piece of paper. At that point in time, we can say to them, sir or ma'am, we cannot read this letter. What does it mean? We have that immediate response to fix whatever critical data element that we need to put into the system. And this is something that we need to be very wary of, right? If we don't focus on data quality, then the statement that I've put out to execs is, if we cannot prove the truth around the value of our customers if the data started out as a lie. And this is something that really resonates with people, because everything that we focus on in specific parts of our business is making sure that this data is trusted, that this data is owned, this data is that this area knows that they're accountable and responsible for the quality of data that they produce. Because if the data, and let's take a practical example in this side, if a customer record, so the person that's walked into the branch, they've sat down, and the service person that's in that branch starts capturing this information on the system, transfers it from a physical piece of paper into a digital platform. If there's not enough information on that, let's call it, you cannot capture everything that's on a piece of paper into the digital platform because it doesn't allow, then we already start seeing a deterioration of data quality, because all the information that we require from the customer is not being captured electronically. And these are the things that we need to really, really make sure that as data owners within the business, that we have an absolute understanding of what we need to what we need to capture, but also the quality of information. What rules are we setting there? I'm sure everyone's gone through a scenario. We certainly have that, you know, there's 4 or 5 versions of you on a system or at a bank or at another company, because there might be a dot or a space between an answer, or there's a hyphen in the wrong place of your name. This stuff all contributes to the quality or the poorer quality of data that's being used by our clients. And this is something that we need to be absolutely focused on as an organization, but as an entity and as a data community. It all starts from the quality that you put into the systems. The next aspect, and this is now kicking off the first element in the data value chain, is, can we enable, so we've captured data, it's of high quality, but are we getting the data from the right source? What I mean by that, right? You can't have different versions of this data record that's been captured in the branch, for example. Imagine each branch had their own system and they're capturing their own version of those customers into their system with different attributes, with different pieces of information. It'll be a mess at the end of the day to say, well, why aren't these 2 branches? They both captured 100 customers in each, but this one's got far more data than the other one. It's because of the way that the systems are structured. So we need to make sure that everything that we pull from, what we call at the moment, is from our strategic stack. Gone are the days that you can reach under your desk and spool up a server where all your information gets stored. These things need to be updated. These systems need to be kept clean in terms of how customers, if there's an update on one system, there's another update on a different system, that pool which we call a data lake, all needs to come from one source or the best source to make sure that all the records that are there are the fundamental truth, a true version of what they truly are. An example that I've used with executives to make them understand the impact of this is, imagine, and this is an actual fact, if you take 1 liter of dirty car oil or motor oil, it's enough to pollute 1 million liters of clean drinking water. And this is the same aspect when you start thinking here. One mistake here, and with it being replicated from one branch on one computer, and you move it into this section, and there's thousands of records of the same thing, that important element, if it's not fixed, will pollute this entire area. And this is something that we're really passionate about, and we really have to make sure that we're pulling for the right system. So usually at this point, people leapfrog into this next version of delivering customer value, right? So I know Junior talked about things around providing that interaction with clients and really understanding the business problem. You know, we have very similar conversations. We really define our value with the business. We don't say, this is what you think we need. We ask them, what do you need from the data, or what insight that you need from the data to provide value to our clients? Remember, business at the front end, they are the experts. They have the relationships. They know what they're looking for. They might not have the literacy, the data literacy that we require, but we can transform that. We call ourselves in some instances data journalists. So we can take down the notes of our customers and transform this language into a language that we understand with our tech needs, that we can put these insights into the hands of these needing colleagues that will go see our clients. But also, we don't focus on creating outputs or just reports or dashboards. We focus on building outcomes. We co-create outcomes together. The outcome is the value that's going to land in the customer's hand, and that is understood by us and by the customers together. And this is where the real insights come out. This is where the feedback to the systems that we create is creating that world of intelligence to say, I'm giving you this insight. And what's happening at the end of the day is that they're providing some insight back to us as a team, so we can improve our models, we can improve the data sets that we use, and the most important thing is we can actually facilitate some type of constant conversation with them. But before I get to the example, there's a missing link here. I did it on purpose, but the aspect of having this analytical enablement embedded in the business is extremely important. But the link between the two we need to really start looking at is data literacy. This is something that we've really identified as the cornerstone or the key contributor in order to deliver this value, because you can build the smartest models and create the most incredible dashboards and build the most intelligent AI and machine learning tools. But if the people in roles, the people that will be consuming this information, they don't understand how to either use the model, or they don't understand exactly what they're going to use or do themselves, then this will just completely wither out, and it will not land in anyone's hands because there's just a lack of understanding. Everyone is extremely busy. And if you don't have an analytical strategy that will help those people make specific actions in their role, so it's part of their habitual way of working, their everyday routine, and it's familiar to them. Without that connection, things usually fall off the wagon. And this is the stuff that we need to be absolutely focused on. Data literacy in this day and age is one of the most, actually, in the last 2 years, has become the top trending data topic with many companies. So by making this real as an example, what we said is that we'll get the guys to make sure that they're capturing the right customer quality information, that they're all pulling those customer records from a central database that is used by the business in the same place with the best golden source. We make sure that the people in the branches know exactly what to do. So we empower them to make decisions around the data quality that's impacted. Remember, I'm using the customer onboarding example here. And then we use analytics in this space. The customer could be the people that are in the branch, or the final customer at the end of the day. We use this analytics to provide either insight back to tell them, guys, there's an issue with the quality, or we provide them to the next step and to say we need to actually deliver the value into the customer's hands. And what we term this as a business data asset. This is something that we put together, a thing that we can measure and embed in the business. This is a living and breathing data asset that sits in the business that's part of their operating structure. They can consider it as something that they would use in order to bring into their business, in order to make decisions on, but it's theirs. We're not the ones that are responsible for the business data assets. We're responsible for co-creating with them, but ultimately, this is something that will live in their world. This is a very simplified version of an operating model. And the reason why we created this business data asset, because we can physically measure it. We can physically measure the insights. We can physically measure this entire world of how we put it together in a central thing that we've embedded into the business. One final thing that I wanted to address today, and it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek slide as well. I think a lot of companies at the moment now are really using the buzz of AI, or the buzzword of AI, across many platforms. You'll see it in almost every strategic article that comes out from the major players. You know, AI will only work if it's based on good quality data. And more importantly, AI, if you double click on the concept of what it is, there's many initiatives that can be spawned from it or segmented from it to create the similar insight. You don't need AI. AI is not a silver bullet, and you don't need it in every instance, but it is the ultimate version of having good data quality that is useful to create that value for a customer. Thank you.
Just to say, Maciej, thank you so much for dropping deeper into how exactly to align business value, the business value chain, with the data value chain. I think also driving home the point that data quality is an imperative thing for business to own, rather than expecting it to come from IT. Because the old adage is garbage in, garbage out. And quite often where things go wrong is you have all these cleansing activities downstream, but if you keep on, it's like trying to mop the floor while the tap is running. So where one can ensure data quality happens is upstream, and for business to take ownership of that. I think lastly, you describe the overall capability and organizing oneself as actually a data asset. And I think the key takeaway point there is that when one starts to understand your data and processing of data and leveraging data as a data asset, then begins it's actually the very beginning of the journey of realizing a key competitive advantage, where your data asset becomes your key competitive advantage.